Sleep Spell presents.
Welcome, traveler. Pour yourself something warm. Settle in by the fire. And let me tell you a story. A story of darkness and light. Of a hero who chose compassion in a world that worshipped cruelty. And of a drow elf who would become one of the most beloved characters in all of fantasy. This is the tale of Drizzt Do'Urden. To understand Drizzt, we must first journey to a place of eternal night. Miles beneath the surface world, deeper than any mine shaft, beyond the reach of sun and stars, there exists a realm called the Underdark. Imagine endless caverns stretching for hundreds of miles. Rivers of magma lighting vast chambers. Crystalline formations that glow with their own eerie luminescence. Mushroom forests the size of oak trees. And darkness. Such profound darkness that surface dwellers would go mad from it. But the Underdark is not empty. It teems with life, most of it hostile. Mind flayers with their writhing tentacles, beholders with their many eyes, hook horrors with their terrible claws, and creatures far stranger still. And then there are the drow, the dark elves. The drow are elves, yes, but not like the noble wood elves of the surface, or the wise high elves of ancient kingdoms. Thousands of years ago, during a war that nearly destroyed elven kind, one faction turned to dark magic and demon worship. They were banished, driven into the depths, and there they made their new home. The hauntingly beautiful drow have obsidian dark skin, hair as white as snow, and eyes that glow with an inner light, red, violet, amber, or blue. They are naturally agile, naturally magical, and naturally cruel. You see, the drow didn't just survive in the Underdark. They built a civilization, and at its heart sits their goddess, Lolth, the Spider Queen, the Demon Queen of Spiders. And Lolth demands certain things of her followers. She demands ambition without mercy, strength without compassion. The absolute domination of the weak. Women rule drow society. They are the priestesses of Lolth, the matrons of the noble houses. Men are warriors, wizards, useful tools, but always beneath the women in power. And the greatest of all drow cities is Menzoberranzan, a massive cavern lit by the glow of magical fairy fire, green, purple, and blue flames that never burn, but always illuminate. Stalactite towers hang from the ceiling like stone daggers. Stalagmite spires rise from the floor, carved into ornate mansions and fortresses. Spider webs, some big enough to catch a horse, stretch between the structures. And in this city of beautiful nightmares, noble houses scheme against each other constantly. Assassination is an art form. Betrayal is expected. Weakness means death. And the Spider Queen watches it all, delighting in the chaos. This is where our story begins, in one of those noble houses, House Do'Urden. House Do'Urden was not the most powerful house in Menzoberranzan, but it was rising, ambitious, dangerous, and it was ruled with an iron fist by matron Malice Do'Urden, a priestess of Lolth who would stop at nothing to elevate her house's standing.
In this house, we serve only Lolth. Power is everything. Sentiment is poison. You will be strong, or you will be sacrificed.
Malice had several children, as most matrons did. Her daughters would become priestesses. Her sons would become warriors or wizards, each one a potential tool, a potential threat, a potential sacrifice, if Lolth demanded it. Warmly, with a hint of hope, and then Drizzt was born, the third son of House Do'Urden. His birth should have been unremarkable. In drow society, third sons have little value. Older brothers inherit what little status male children can claim. But Drizzt's birth was complicated. You see, the very night Drizzt entered the world, House Do'Urden was engaged in a brutal battle with House Defied, a rival house. Drow politics are settled with assassination, and House Do'Urden was wiping out an entire family to move up in status. And according to drow tradition, a noble house that successfully destroys a rival must offer a sacrifice to Lolth, a life for the Spider Queen's favor. Malice had intended to sacrifice her third son, this newborn baby, on an altar of webs and darkness. But Drizzt's older brother Dinin killed their other brother Zaknafein in the chaos of battle, making Drizzt the second-born son instead of the third. And second-born sons are too valuable to sacrifice. They can be weapons masters, house protectors. So Drizzt lived, not because anyone loved him, not because anyone wanted him, but because of a technicality, a twist of fate, or perhaps something more. Drizzt grew up in the Do'Urden compound like any young drow male, trained to fight from the moment he could hold a weapon. The drow are perhaps the finest warriors in all the Underdark, and their training is brutal, relentless, and without mercy. And Drizzt was exceptional, faster than his brothers, more agile, more skilled. He wielded two scimitars with a grace that bordered on artistry. His instructors marveled at his natural talent, his instinctive understanding of combat. But there was something else about Drizzt, something his family couldn't quite understand. Even as a child, he asked questions that drow children shouldn't ask.
But why must we hurt them? If we are stronger, shouldn't we protect those who are weak?
In drow society, such questions are dangerous. Compassion is weakness. Mercy is foolishness. The strong dominate, the weak serve or die. This is the way of Lolth. But Drizzt couldn't accept it. Something in him recoiled from the casual cruelty around him. When his sister tortured a slave for amusement, he felt sick. When his family celebrated a successful assassination, he felt hollow. He didn't understand it at first. He thought perhaps he was broken, defective somehow. After all, everyone around him seemed to revel in the darkness. Why couldn't he? And then he met Zaknafein.
Zaknafein Do'Urden, weapons master of House Do'Urden, the finest fighter in all of Menzoberranzan, perhaps in all the Underdark, a legend among the drow. But Zaknafein carried a secret, a terrible, dangerous secret, that could get him killed if anyone knew. He hated what he was. He hated drow society. He hated Loth. He hated every moment of his existence.
We are monsters, boy. Beautiful, skilled, talented monsters. We dress up our cruelty in talk of strength and power. But at the end of the day, we are just monsters.
Zaknafein was Drizzt's father, though in drow society, fathers have no real status, no real connection to their children. He was Matron Malice's consort, a position of servitude more than partnership. He fought for House Do'Urden because he had no choice. He killed because he had to survive. But inside he was screaming. He had lived for centuries this way, playing the part of the perfect drow warrior while despising every moment of it, and he had long ago given up hope that anything could ever change. Until he saw Drizzt. Until he saw that same questioning look in the young drow's lavender eyes. Until he recognized a kindred spirit. Zaknafein became Drizzt's teacher, as was customary for the weapons master to train the sons of the house. But their relationship became something more, something dangerous, something beautiful. In their training sessions, Zaknafein taught Drizzt more than just how to fight. He taught him how to think.
The scimitar is not just a weapon, boy. It's an extension of your will. And your will, that's what defines you. Not your blood, not your house. Your choices.
Zaknafein couldn't speak openly about his beliefs. The walls of House Do'Urden had ears, and Malice would have him tortured and killed if she knew the truth. But in subtle ways, through stories and parables, he taught Drizzt that there was another way to live.
Carefully, as if sharing a secret. When I fight, I imagine I'm protecting something, not destroying it. It helps me remember who I want to be.
And Drizzt understood. For the first time in his young life, he didn't feel alone. Someone else saw the world the way he did. Someone else felt that gnawing wrongness about their society. Drizzt loved his father, and Zaknafein loved his son. In a city where love was considered a weakness, where family bonds were just tools for manipulation, these two shared something genuine. But in Menzoberranzan all good things are fragile. When Drizzt came of age, he was sent to Mele Magthair, the academy where young drow males learn to become warriors, wizards, and agents of their houses. It's a brutal place, where students are pitted against each other, where failure means death, and where the strong, quite literally, prey on the weak. For Drizzt excelled. His skill with the scimitars was unmatched, his speed, his instincts, his tactical mind, all superior. He became one of the most formidable students in the Academy's history. But he also saw horrors there. Students torturing surface elves captured in raids, pointless cruelty inflicted on slaves for entertainment, brutal hazing rituals designed to break the spirit. And Drizzt began to realize something terrible. He couldn't do this. He couldn't be this. No matter how skilled he was, no matter how much his family expected of him, he couldn't live as a drow was meant to live.
What am I? I wear their skin, I bear their name, but I am not one of them. I will never be one of them.
There was a moment, a turning point. The Academy sent Drizzt and other students on a raid to the surface world. A test. They were to attack a surface elf community, to kill, to take prisoners for torture. And Drizzt couldn't do it. When the moment came, when he saw an elf child cowering in fear, he couldn't strike. He warned them instead. He let them escape. It was an act of defiance that could have gotten him killed. But his companions thought it was tactical cunning, not mercy. Drizzt learned then to hide his true nature even more carefully, to play the part, to survive. But inside, he was dying. Every day in Menzoberranzan was a day he betrayed himself. After graduating from the Academy, Drizzt returned to House Do'Urden. He took his place as a warrior of the house, participating in raids and battles because he had no choice. But Matron Malice was watching him. She sensed his difference. And Zaknafein knew what was coming. He had lived this life for centuries. He knew how Malice's mind worked. She suspected Drizzt was too much like his father, too soft, too moral. And if she decided to remove that weakness... So Zaknafein made a choice. In a city where selfless sacrifice was unheard of, where everyone looked out only for themselves, he chose to die for his son. He attacked a priestess, a deliberate, public act of heresy that could only end one way. He gave Malice no choice but to execute him, and in doing so, he satisfied her bloodlust. Drizzt was spared because his father's death was punishment enough for the family's weakness.
Live free, my son. Be better than this place. Be better than me.
Drizzt watched them take his father away. Watched them sacrifice him to Lolth in a ceremony of blood and webs. And something inside him broke. Not broke in the sense of shattering, broke in the sense of breaking free. The last chain holding him to Menzoberranzan snapped. His father was dead. The one person who understood him, who loved him, was gone. And Drizzt made a decision that would change everything. Leaving Menzoberranzan isn't just forbidden. It's nearly impossible. The city is constantly watched, patrols monitor the tunnels. Magic wards detect intruders, and any drow caught trying to abandon their house is killed on sight. But Drizzt was one of the finest warriors the city had ever produced. He knew the patrol routes. He knew the tunnels. And he no longer cared if he lived or died. He only cared that he would not spend one more day in that place. He took his scimitars, Twinkle and Icing Death, blades he had claimed in battle. He took minimal supplies. And one night, under the cover of darkness that was no different from the darkness of any other moment in the Underdark, Drizzt Do'Urden walked away from the only home he had ever known. House Do'Urden sent hunters after him, of course. His family wanted him dead for the shame he had brought upon them. But Drizzt was too fast, too skilled, too determined. He fled deeper into the Underdark, into tunnels even the drow rarely traveled, into darkness upon darkness, into a realm of monsters and madness. He left behind everything: his family, his house, his name, his people. He became an exile, a renegade, a creature without a home.
I am Drizzt Do'Urden. I am a drow, but I am not what they wanted me to be. I will never be what they wanted me to be.
And so began the journey of a hero. Not in triumph, not in glory, but alone in the dark, with only his principles to guide him, and the memory of his father's sacrifice to give him strength. But this is only the beginning of Drizzt's tale. What comes next is a decade of loneliness, of survival, of learning what it truly means to be an outcast in a world that judges by appearance rather than character. But we'll get to that. For now, rest a moment. Breathe. When you're ready, we'll continue into Act 2, where Drizzt faces the Underdark alone, and discovers a companion who will stay by his side for the rest of his life.